Most people drive right past this country without even realizing it exists. It's completely surrounded by Italy. You can cross it in under an hour, and yet it claims to be the oldest surviving republic in the world. At the top, 3 medieval towers guard a republic that's been independent since 301 AD. So today, we're exploring the country of San Marino.
This is crazy.
To find out how a country this small has survived for over 1,700 years. Let's get tipsy, y'all.
San Marino traces its origins back to 301 AD. Yes, 301. Like the Roman Empire was still very much a thing. As the story goes, a Christian stonemason named Marinus fled persecution, climbed Monte Titano looking for safety, and accidentally started a country. Other Christians joined him, and what started as a small mountain refuge slowly grew into a tight-knit, faith-based community. And that community eventually turned into an entire republic. And somehow, against all odds, it stuck for 1,700 years and counting. San Marino calls itself the oldest surviving republic in the world, and they have a pretty solid case. Now, obviously, San Marino is not the oldest place that humans have lived. There are plenty of other civilizations that are thousands of years older. But here's the difference. Most of those empires rose, fell, and reinvented themselves. San Marino just stayed. Their government structure evolved over time, but by the 13th century, they had formalized a system that still exists today, including 2 captains regent who serve as heads of state. And here's the kicker. Those 2 people rotate every 6 months. That's right, every 6 months. Just imagine the non-stop campaign ads.
How do they stay independent? This is the part that makes it impressive. They did it with a combination of smart diplomacy, strategic geography, and staying small enough to not feel worth conquering. And being perched on a mountain with fortified towers sends a clear message. But diplomacy was the real MVP. They adopted written statutes in the 1600s that are still considered one of the oldest constitutional frameworks in the world. While others were fighting over crowns, they were drafting governing documents.
During Italian unification in the mid-1800s, when the peninsula was basically reshuffling itself into one country, San Marino gave refuge to Giuseppe Garibaldi, one of the key people in Italy's unification, and he returned the favor by respecting their sovereignty.
San Marino survived the fall of the Roman Empire, feudal wars, powerful Italian families, Napoleon, Italian unification, and 2 world wars.
And they did it by being strategic, adaptable, and very clear about one thing. We're staying.
Just got checked in. Let's go check out this adorable country. There is absolutely no shortage of stairs, so come prepared. Lots and lots of stairs. Guys,
That was no joke.
we figured out why they remained their own country. It's because nobody wanted to walk up that hill to get here. I wish the camera angle could show you guys that hill. Wowzers. We're standing in one of the smallest countries in the world, and somehow it has 3 medieval towers sitting dramatically on the mountain like it's auditioning for Game of Thrones. These towers aren't decorative. They were built for defense. They're literal symbols of independence. All 3 sit on Monte Titano and even appear on the country's flag and coat of arms.
This is Guaita, the oldest and most famous tower, dating all the way back to the 11th century. And when we say they built it straight into the mountain, we mean literally carved into the rock, no foundation needed. The name Guaita literally means to guard, which feels appropriate because this tower was a fortress, a lookout point, and yes, even a prison until the 1970s. For a very long time, if you committed a crime here in San Marino, you were spending some quality time up here with these great views, but also significantly less freedom. The bell tower, known as the Campanone, used to ring to warn citizens of danger, and today it still rings for major civic and religious events. And the views from up here? Well, on a clear day, you can see the entire historic city, the surrounding castles, and the Apennines. Not a bad office view for those medieval guards.
Look at this. This is insane. This place is just absolutely beautiful. It's sensational. Wow.
What's your backpack?
Backpack, not a good idea.
No joke. It's crazy. Didn't even have to sign a waiver.
We are in the very top of the first tower. And first of all, this view is insane. But second of all, the windows have holes for where the archers were. So cool. To get from the first tower to the second, you walk along the Passo delle Streghe, or Witch's Path, because obviously every medieval fortress needs a slightly creepy legend, but it's actually one of the most scenic walks you'll ever do. According to local legend, witches would gather along the ridge at night. Whether that meant actual accused witches or just storytelling over centuries, it's unclear, as there's no strong historical evidence of organized witch gatherings. It's one of the best viewpoints in the country, and on a clear day, you can actually see all the way to the Adriatic Sea. Since it's no longer in the medieval times, there are shops and cafes along the way. So if you happen to be hungry or thirsty, you can just stop and grab something in between the towers. Remember how I said if you were thirsty, you could stop at a cafe and get something to drink? We found a local beer. We walked up to the second tower. Amazing.
Built in the 13th century, this is Cesta, the second tower, and it sits on the highest peak of Monte Titano.
This one was all about surveillance and defense, keeping eyes on anything suspicious coming toward the Republic. It's now home to the Museum of Ancient Weapons, which includes hundreds of historical weapons from the Middle Ages through the 1800s. Swords, armor, crossbows, and a reminder that the strategic diplomacy we mentioned earlier wasn't always plan A. Even if you're not big on old weapons, this tower is worth it for the walk alone. The views here are next level, especially looking back toward Guaita. For a tiny country, they've got some unbeatable vantage points.
Okay, so we're on the second tower, and then right here, right there, is the third tower. And if you walk with me this way, right here is the first tower. So, needless to say, look at this. This is pretty spectacular. I think if I was gonna be stationed here, I'd want to be second tower. I like it. This is crazy. I don't think I'll ever get tired of seeing castles or fortresses, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And my love for them just continues to grow the more that we see. We've been very lucky that we've gotten to explore a lot. I now have like quasi blueprint of what I would want in our castle, right? Obviously like a cellar, that's very important.
Torture room?
No, a cellar, like a wine cellar.
Okay.
But you know, there's that. So the third tower is like way out here. It's kind of crazy how far it is. And then there's Montale, the smallest and most mysterious of the three. Built in the 14th century, it was mainly used as a watchtower and prison, and it's the only one you can't go inside today. Montale was used strictly for defense and has a prison pit that prisoners were lowered into from above. No doors, no windows, just some serious vibes and not the good ones either. It played a key role during conflict with neighboring powers, especially the Malatesta family, who really wanted San Marino to not be independent anymore. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. The entrance is about 7 meters off the ground, which made escaping extremely unlikely. Medieval security was brutal, but effective. Absolutely, and beautiful, very quiet, very serene. I feel like towards this side, you kind of get the more what it could be like vibe because you're not near stores or cafes or anything else. It's just the tower out here. It's absolutely stunning, and I would have hated to have been a prisoner there.
Having now been to all three towers, obviously we can't go to number 3, but I think my favorite is the second tower. You know, it's got the Museum of Ancient Weapons, which is really neat, and then it's still got all kind of the same characteristics of the first tower. You still got to go through all the little nooks and crannies, which is really, really neat.
I loved the Museum of the Weapons. I thought that was awesome. In terms of the actual structure of the tower, I think climbing the tower one, that like creepy, awful staircase, I don't know, I like the authenticity of it. Kind of fun to put yourself like in the shoes of like an archer who's going to defend the place, and they have to get up this tower carrying one of these giant crossbows. Yeah. But honestly, like, they're both incredible. They're amazing.
Highly recommend a visit just in general. It's 11 euros for the whole complex, but if you happen to be staying in San Marino for the night, most of your hotels will give you a little card which can get you a discount, and we got our ticket for just 8 euros. If the towers are the muscle of San Marino, this is the soul. The current basilica was completed in the 1830s in a neoclassical style that feels very Roman temple meets clean European symmetry. There's tall columns, triangular pediments, ornate design. It sits on the site of a much older church that dated back to at least the 7th century, which itself was built over what tradition says was the burial site of Saint Marinus. Yes, the same stonemason who allegedly climbed the mountain and accidentally started a country. Marinus died sometime in the 4th century, and over time the community began honoring him as a saint. So this basilica is the quiet reminder of where it all began.
This is Piazza della Libertà. Translation, Freedom Square. Right in the center stands the Statua della Libertà, literally the Statue of Liberty, gifted by a German countess who admired San Marino's long-standing independence. It's carved from white marble and shows liberty crowned for sovereignty, holding the Republic's flag. She stands directly in front of Palazzo Pubblico.
The Palazzo Pubblico is the seat of San Marino's government.
This is where the Grand and General Council meets. It's also where the two heads of state do their thing. The Palazzo was rebuilt in the late 1800s in a neo-Gothic style. Outside, you'll see the coat of arms of San Marino above the entrance, with the 3 towers, a feathered crown, and liberty vibes.
We are here late February, definitely off season for them, and a lot of things are closed. If you look down this row, 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, and we're heading to dinner, and we've passed multiple restaurants and bars that are all closed. Benefit of coming in the off season, less people. Downside is limited businesses.
After spending the afternoon exploring medieval towers and diving into 1700 years of independence, we were ready for something hearty, which for us means brace da donati, a restaurant centered around grilling. Brace actually refers to the hot coals used for cooking. The whole place is set inside this cave-like stone interior, which feels very on brand for San Marino. For wine, our waiter recommended a local red wine called Brunetto, which is made exclusively from Sangiovese grapes grown in the hills of San Marino. We went all in on their traditional tasting menu, and it did not disappoint. It started with a gnocco fritto topped with lard and a fried bacala manticato ball as an amuse-bouche, followed by fresh bread with homemade whipped butter. Then came a beef tartare with a Piemonte anchovy and onion sauce and a classic green lasagna.
Chris's favorite is lasagna, and this one is like this thick, and the bread, he's very happy.
For the main, we had a skewer with different cuts of beef, including more adventurous cuts like cheek and tongue.
He looks so defeated. We've eaten a lot. Look at this. This is the main, guys. This is the main. No knife needed.
And to finish it off, an amaretto cake with ricotta ice cream, plus a small apricot macaron and lemon gelatin.
That was absolutely phenomenal.
I am stuffed.
So we didn't necessarily go in there with the intention of doing the tasting menu, and I am so glad we did. So all the reviews had said it's a meat-forward restaurant. So we went the traditional tasting menu, and they actually had a game tasting menu, so think like quail, duck, rabbit, like stuff like that. We went with the more traditional, which we still got beef tongue on ours. So good.
Delicious.
It was honestly, there are very few times we've done tasting menus where we've been able to eat everything on the plate. Everything was amazing. Absolutely astounding. So if you're coming, definitely recommend that restaurant.
That wraps our time in San Marino. Honestly, we are very much in love with this place. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, we have so many for Italy and nearby countries, so make sure you check out this playlist here. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. It's a free way to help our channel. Thanks for watching, y'all. Cheers!